Mail-order bride rejected in public for being not good enough. Until a quiet rancher loved her, the twin suns of Red Mesa burned bright over the dusty frontier town. Lena adjusted the strap of her small bag, her hands trembling slightly. She had traveled across 3-star systems to arrive here. Her heart beat fast. She was a mail-order bride, but not just any bride. She carried dreams of a new life, far from the crowded, gray colonies she had left behind. She wanted to belong, to be seen as more than just a stranger in a strange world. The town was small. Wooden buildings stood side by side with metal structures powered by solar panels. Hover carts moved slowly along the streets, carrying supplies, livestock, and occasional passengers. A few alien traders with greenish skin and long, delicate fingers walked among the humans. Lena's eyes widened. This was not the world she had imagined when she signed the marriage contract. It was wilder, harsher, and somehow more alive. She tightened her coat around her shoulders. The wind carried red dust, and she shielded her eyes. At the center of town, a small crowd had gathered. They were here to welcome her, the new bride for Jarrett, the rancher everyone respected. Her stomach twisted. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind countless times, imagining Jarrett smiling at her, the townsfolk nodding in approval. But reality struck immediately. When she stepped into the open space, the matchmaker, a woman with a sharp voice and sharper eyes, stepped forward. "Well, well," she said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "So this is the famous bride? She looks ordinary, not at all what we expected. I hope the rancher has better taste than the rest of us." Gasps and whispers ran through the crowd. Some snickers escaped. Lena felt heat rise to her cheeks. Her hands gripped her bag tightly. She tried to smile politely, but her throat was dry. She took a step forward. I'm Lena. I came." "Not good enough," the matchmaker interrupted. "You're not refined enough for this place. Maybe you should go back to where you came from." The words struck Lena like a whip. The crowd murmured again, some faces turning cold, some curious, some amused. Jarrett stood at the side, arms crossed. He looked uncomfortable, but he said nothing. Lena felt her hope drain away. She had imagined arriving with pride, but now she felt small, exposed. For a moment, she considered turning back, slipping away into the dusty streets and leaving the people behind. But something inside her held her there. She had come too far to run now. She nodded politely. I am here to work, to help. I hope to learn." Her voice was quiet but steady. The matchmaker huffed. "Learning isn't enough. You need to belong, and you are not enough." Lena's eyes stung. She looked down at her boots, coated in red dust. The sun reflected off the metal panels, blinding her for a second. She wanted to cry, but she swallowed the tears. Pride, she told herself. She must hold on to pride. As the crowd began to disperse, Lena stayed where she was. The town felt empty now, though it was full of people. She walked slowly, each step heavy. Dust swirled around her, and she pulled her coat tighter. The stars had guided her across space, and now the sun seemed too bright, the ground too harsh. She wandered toward the edge of town, where the streets ended and the open plains began. Red Mesa stretched endlessly, rocky hills and patches of dry grass. She could see distant herds of hovering cattle, their bodies glowing faintly as they adapted to the harsh sun. This was the frontier, a place of work, survival, and determination, and she was alone. A soft sound behind her caught her attention. She turned to see a figure approaching. A man walked with steady steps, tall and broad, his boots crunching against the dry soil. He wore a long coat, and a wide-brimmed hat shaded his face. Lena could see only a shadowed profile, but there was something in his walk that spoke of strength and quiet patience. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm, low, and gentle. Lena blinked, unsure. I think so." "You don't look okay," he said simply. "People can be cruel here, I know." Lena studied him. There was no judgment in his eyes, only understanding. His gaze was steady, watching her without pity. It was different from the stares of the town, different from the matchmaker's sharp eyes. She felt a small spark of hope. "I'm Lena," she said. "I'm Eli," he said. "I live out there," he added, pointing to the outskirts where a few small ranch buildings sat among red rocks and glowing cacti. "I heard about what happened in town. Don't let them get to you. You'll learn quickly if you're willing." Lena felt a small smile creep onto her face. "I want to learn," she said, the words coming more firmly now. Eli nodded. "Then you will come by tomorrow. I could use some help at the ranch. It's hard work, but honest, and it's safer out there than in town these days." For the first time that day, Lena felt a flicker of excitement. The day had begun with humiliation, but now there was a chance. A chance to prove herself, to belong somewhere, to find people who valued her for more than appearances. As the twin suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the plains, Lena walked back toward the small inn where she was staying. The town was quiet now, the streets almost empty. The red dust clung to her boots, but she barely noticed. Her thoughts were on tomorrow, on the chance Eli offered, on the possibility that she could start again, even here on the frontier of a new world. That night, Lena lay on a simple cot, staring at the ceiling. Her bag was packed neatly by the door, ready for tomorrow's journey to Eli's ranch. She thought of the townsfolk, the laughter, the rejection. It hurt deeply, but it also gave her a strange kind of determination. She was not going to run. She had come too far. In the darkness, she imagined the wide-open plains, the hovering cattle, and the quiet rancher who had offered her a chance. She imagined herself working, learning, and finding her place in this strange, harsh, beautiful world. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it was peaceful. She dreamed not of the humiliation, but of the frontier, of work and strength, of quiet courage and small victories. The next morning, the suns rose over Red Mesa, casting golden light over the rocky hills. Lena stepped outside, the dust swirling around her boots. She felt a new resolve. Today, she would meet Eli. Today, she would begin to prove herself. Today, she would show that being good enough was not about appearances. It was about heart, determination, and courage. The journey had only just begun, and the frontier waited. The sun was just rising over the hills of Red Mesa when Lena set out toward Eli's ranch. Her boots crunched against the red dust, and the wind tugged at her coat. She felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. The streets of town were still quiet, and she could see the distant buildings fading behind her. Ahead, the plains stretched wide, dotted with glowing cacti and rocky outcroppings. Somewhere beyond, Eli's ranch awaited. As she approached, she could see a large corral, its fences reinforced with hovering energy strands. A small herd of cattle grazed nearby. These were not ordinary animals. They had been genetically enhanced to survive the harsh climate of Red Mesa. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the morning sun. Lena stopped for a moment, marveling at them. She had never seen anything like this before. Eli appeared then, walking toward her from one of the buildings. His long coat flapped in the wind, and his hat shaded his face. He nodded at her without a word, his presence calm and steady. Lena felt a small surge of courage. She straightened her back and walked toward him. "Good morning," she said, her voice clear. "Morning," Eli replied. He gestured toward the corral. "First job helped me check the fences. Some of the energy strands are down from last night's wind." Lena nodded. She followed him, stepping carefully over small rocks and patches of dry grass. When she reached the fence, she saw the damage. Several strands of the energy fence had flickered and gone dark. Eli handed her a small tool. "Here," he said. "These fences need constant checking. If they fail, the herd can get out and some of them won't survive the terrain." Lena took the tool, her hands steady. "I can do that," she said. Eli studied her for a moment. "I'll watch, learn quickly, or you'll get shocked." She smiled nervously and began working. The energy strands were delicate. A wrong move could send a small zap across her fingers. She focused, remembering the instructions Eli had given. Slowly, carefully, she repaired the broken strands. Her fingers brushed against the humming wires, and she felt a tiny jolt, but she did not pull back. "You're careful," Eli said, watching her work. "Good." "Most people are too nervous." "Thank you," Lena replied, her cheeks pink. "I want to do it right." The morning passed quickly. Lena moved from fence to fence, learning the rhythms of the ranch. She discovered the small drones hovering near the water troughs, checking moisture levels and repairing minor leaks. She learned to feed the cattle using energy-controlled food dispensers and even helped guide the robotic livestock companions that moved the herd across the plains. Eli watched silently, occasionally giving a word of advice or correcting her posture. Lena appreciated his quiet guidance. He did not praise her too much, and he did not criticize unfairly. He simply helped her learn, and she felt herself growing stronger with each task. During a short break, they sat on a large rock looking out over the plains. The suns had risen higher and the wind had calmed. Lena took a deep breath. "This is different from what I expected," she said. "How so?" Eli asked. "It's harder," she said honestly. "And it's beautiful. I didn't know a place could feel alive like this. Even with all the dust and heat, it feels real." Eli nodded. "It's honest work. The land doesn't lie. You do right by it and it gives back. You cheat it and it will make you pay." Lena thought about the town and the matchmaker's words. "It feels safer here than in the town," she said softly. "People judge too quickly there. Out here it's different. I can breathe." Eli's eyes met hers. For a moment the wind seemed to pause. He nodded slightly. "You're learning quickly. That's rare." Lena smiled faintly. "I have to. I want to belong. I want to be more than what people think of me." He looked at her, quiet but attentive. Lena noticed the small scars on his hands, the way his coat had patches from work, the steady rhythm of his breathing. He was a man of few words, but each one carried weight. She felt a strange comfort being near him. By midday, they were working with the herd. Some cattle had wandered too close to rocky cliffs, and Eli showed Lena how to guide them back using a combination of soft commands and robotic assistance. Lena's hands ached from the tools, and the suns were hot on her back, but she did not complain. Each small success gave her a sense of pride she had never felt before. "You're getting the hang of it," Eli said finally, as the last of the cattle returned to the corral. "Not many new people can handle this by the first day." "I'm learning," Lena said, wiping sweat from her brow. "Good," Eli said. He did not smile much, but his eyes had a warmth she could feel. "Tomorrow we'll move to the water troughs. They need cleaning and the drones need recalibration. You'll do fine." Lena nodded eagerly. "I want to help. I want to do it right." The afternoon brought another challenge. A sudden gust of wind swept across the plains, lifting dust into the air and causing several of the cattle to panic. Lena and Eli worked quickly, using a combination of calls, robotic assistance, and quick movements to calm the herd. Lena's heart pounded as she guided the animals, her fingers gripping the reins of the hovering drones. She felt fear, yes, but also exhilaration. She had never felt so alive. When the herd was finally settled, Eli gave a rare nod of approval. "You handled that well," he said simply. Lena's cheeks flushed. She wanted to say something to thank him, but words felt small compared to the pride swelling in her chest. She had survived the first real test of the frontier, and she had not failed. As the suns began to set, casting golden light over the red plains, Eli and Lena returned to the ranch house. They sat on the porch, watching the glowing horizon. Lena's arms ached and her boots were dusty, but she felt a strange happiness she could not explain. "Today was hard," she said finally, "but I think I like it." Eli tilted his head slightly. "You worked hard, you earned it, not everyone does." They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the plains stretch endlessly before them. The sky was streaked with orange and purple, and the air cooled slightly. Lena felt a sense of belonging, small but real. She was not in town where people had judged her. She was here doing real work, learning skills, and slowly earning respect, not just from Eli, but from herself. "Will it always be this hard?" she asked, turning to him. Eli looked at her seriously. "The frontier is always hard, but you grow stronger each day. You'll find your place if you keep working, you'll see." Lena nodded. She wanted to believe him, and deep down she did. The fear from the town, the humiliation, had not disappeared, but it felt smaller now. She had faced her first day and survived. She had learned, adapted, and earned a small measure of respect from a man who understood the frontier better than anyone. As night fell, the stars came out, bright and clear in the desert sky. Lena lay on a simple cot, looking out the window at the glowing plains. She thought of the cattle, the fences, the drones, and the small victories of the day. She thought of Eli, quiet and steady, who had guided her without judgment. She felt a small sense of pride swell in her chest. Tomorrow she would return to the ranch. She would learn more, work harder, and prove that she belonged here. She would show herself, and maybe others, that being good enough was not about what people said in a crowded town. It was about courage, determination, and heart. And for the first time since arriving on Red Mesa, Lena felt hope. Real hope. The morning air was sharp and cold on Red Mesa. Lena stepped outside the ranch house, her boots crunching over the red dust. She could see Eli already working near the corral, checking the energy fences. Today felt different. The wind was stronger and the distant hills seemed to shimmer strangely under the twin suns. "Morning," Eli said without looking up. "Morning," Lena replied. She adjusted her sleeves and walked toward him. She had learned a lot in the past days, how to repair fences, care for the cattle, and even guide the robotic livestock helpers. But today she felt a flicker of unease she could not explain. Eli noticed her hesitation. "The wind is stronger than usual," he said. "Keep your eyes on the herd and the fences. If anything goes wrong, we have to act fast." Lena nodded. She felt her heart beat faster. She had faced hard work before, but she had learned that the frontier had challenges beyond simple labor. Today, she would see just how unpredictable it could be. As they worked, she noticed small signs, cattle skittish near a rocky ridge, some energy strands flickering more than usual. She pointed them out to Eli. "Good eye," he said. "Stay alert." By midday, the herd had settled, but Lena felt a sense of tension hanging in the air. She could not shake it. As she repaired a fence near the eastern edge of the property, she saw figures moving in the distance. Two men cloaked and riding fast hover carts were heading toward the herd. Their movements were deliberate, almost predatory. "Eli," she called, her voice tight with concern. "There are people approaching the herd." Eli looked up, his eyes narrowed. "Stay calm. Watch what they do, don't panic." The figures got closer. Lena could now see that they were rival ranchers from a nearby settlement. Their intent was clear, they wanted to sabotage Eli's herd. The cattle were valuable, genetically enhanced, and capable of surviving harsh conditions. Whoever controlled them had power in the frontier. Lena's stomach twisted, but she did not run. She remembered the words she had told herself when the matchmaker had humiliated her. Courage, determination, heart. She had come this far, and she would not let fear control her. Eli moved swiftly. He signaled to Lena to guide the robotic assistants toward the intruders. The hovering drones moved quietly, their lights flickering as they positioned themselves around the herd. Lena directed them carefully, using everything she had learned in the past 2 days. The rival ranchers began tampering with the fences, cutting energy strands with small tools. Sparks flew, and a low hum filled the air as the fence systems started failing. Lena felt her hands shake, but she moved quickly, reconnecting broken strands and sending energy pulses to stabilize the fence. "You're doing fine," Eli said, moving behind her to fend off the intruders with a long, staff-like tool. He did not strike them, but used it to push them back from the most vulnerable points. Lena could see the surprise in their eyes. This young woman was not helpless. She was fast, careful, and smart. The rival ranchers realized that simple sabotage would not work. One of them tried to frighten the herd by waving a glowing whip. The cattle panicked, running toward the rocky cliffs. Lena's heart pounded. If the herd fell, many of the animals could die. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, using a combination of calm commands and gestures to direct the robotic companions to guide the herd. "Follow my lead," she called to Eli. Together, they moved swiftly, Lena coordinating the drones and Eli blocking the intruders. Sparks from broken fences flew around them, but Lena did not falter. She felt a strange sense of focus, as if all her past struggles, the humiliation, the long journey, the fear, had prepared her for this moment. With careful timing, she guided the herd away from the cliffs. The robotic companions herded the cattle like trained shepherds, following her instructions. Eli worked beside her, keeping the rival ranchers at bay. After tense moments, the intruders realized they could not win. They backed off, muttering curses, and fled toward the distant hills. Lena sank to her knees, breathing hard. Her hands were scratched and dusty, but her heart was racing with triumph. Eli walked over, his face calm, but his eyes held a rare warmth. "You did well," he said simply. "Most people would have panicked. You stayed focused." Lena looked up at him, surprised. I couldn't let them hurt the herd. I didn't want to fail." "You didn't," Eli said. "You proved yourself today, not just to me, but to yourself." For a moment, Lena felt a rush of pride she had never known. The humiliation from the town, the rejection, all of it felt distant now. She had faced real danger, worked hard, and protected something important, and she had not failed. The afternoon passed quietly after that. Lena and Eli checked the fences, repaired minor damage, and tended to the cattle. The wind had calmed, and the plains were bathed in the golden light of the setting suns. Lena felt exhausted but alive. Each step, each task, each small victory filled her with a growing sense of belonging. Eli handed her a water bottle. "Drink," he said. "Thank you," Lena replied, taking a long sip. She felt the cool water refresh her, washing away some of the tension. "You're stronger than most," Eli said, sitting on a nearby rock. He did not say much more, but Lena felt his respect. Words were rare from him, but actions mattered more, and his presence was steady, calm, and reassuring. They sat together in silence, watching the suns dip below the horizon. The sky turned orange and purple, and the air cooled. Lena felt a strange peace. She had faced challenges, learned new skills, and earned trust. She had begun to carve a place for herself in this harsh, beautiful world. "Tomorrow," Eli said finally, breaking the quiet. "We'll check the water drones and repair the storage tanks. They're vital for the herd." "I'm ready," Lena said. Her voice was firm. She felt confidence growing inside her. She was no longer the timid woman who had arrived in town. She was someone who could handle danger, work hard, and think quickly. She was earning her place. As night fell, the stars filled the sky, brighter than she had ever seen. The twin moons cast a soft glow over the plains. Lena lay on her cot that night, reflecting on the day. The attack had been frightening, yes, but it had also shown her what she was capable of. She had faced fear and uncertainty and had triumphed. She thought of Eli, quiet and steady, who had guided her without condescension or judgment. She felt a strange connection forming, a trust that went beyond words. For the first time, she did not feel alone in this vast, wild world. She felt hope. She felt possibility. Lena closed her eyes, thinking of the next day, the next task, the next challenge. She was ready. She was learning, growing, and finding her place. And she knew deep down that whatever trials the frontier threw at her, she could face them, because she was no longer defined by what others thought of her. She was defined by courage, heart, and determination. The frontier was harsh. The plains were wild. The suns were hot and the winds were unforgiving. But Lena felt stronger than ever. She had survived humiliation, danger, and doubt. And she had begun to prove that she belonged, not just in the town, not just on Eli's ranch, but in the vast, unpredictable world of Red Mesa itself. Tomorrow, the work would continue. But tonight, Lena allowed herself a small, quiet victory. She had faced the rival ranchers, protected the herd, and discovered strength she had never known. She had begun to become the person she had hoped to be when she first left her home world. And for the first time in a long time, she slept without fear, dreaming not of rejection, but of courage, resilience, and the wide-open plains that had become her new home. The morning sun rose slowly over Red Mesa, casting golden light across the red plains. Lena stretched, her arms sore from yesterday's work, but her spirit was lighter than it had been in days. The herd was safe. The fences were repaired, and for the first time she felt a sense of belonging on the frontier. She stepped outside, brushing the dust from her coat. Eli was already at the corral, checking the energy fences. He looked up as she approached. "Morning," he said simply. "Morning," Lena replied. She felt a small smile tug at her lips. Yesterday had been frightening, but today felt calm. She had survived the attack, protected the herd, and learned more than she had in all her life back on the colony worlds. "You handled yourself well," Eli said, his voice quiet but firm. "People in town may have judged you, but you proved your worth here. That's what counts." Lena nodded, her heart swelling with pride. For the first time, she realized that she didn't need approval from strangers in town. She had earned respect through her actions, and that mattered more than anyone's opinion. The day passed in work. Lena and Eli repaired the water drones, recalibrated energy fences, and guided the herd to fresh grazing grounds. Lena's confidence grew with each task. She moved with purpose, her hands steady and her mind sharp. Eli watched her often, a quiet acknowledgement in his gaze that she was becoming capable, strong, and self-reliant. By afternoon, a messenger arrived from the town. A small hover cart rolled up the dirt path, carrying a few townsfolk. Lena felt her stomach tighten. Had word of yesterday's attack reached them? Would they judge her again? The messenger approached Eli. "Rancher Eli," he said, bowing slightly. "We heard what happened yesterday. The town wishes to acknowledge the courage of the young woman who saved your herd. She is welcome among us." Lena blinked in surprise, her heart leapt. She had expected silence or maybe more whispers of doubt, but now the town recognized her bravery. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. Eli nodded. "Thank you," he said, his voice calm. "She earned it." Lena looked at him, her eyes shining. He had stayed by her side, guided her, and trusted her abilities. That trust had made her stronger. The townsfolk approached cautiously, offering small smiles and nods of respect. One of the elder ranchers, who had been skeptical of her arrival, spoke up. "You did well, Lena," he said. "It takes courage and skill to handle the herd like that. You belong here if you want to." Lena's lips curved into a genuine smile. "Thank you," she said softly. I want to belong, I want to help." The townsfolk nodded, and some even clapped lightly. For the first time since arriving on Red Mesa, Lena felt accepted. She was no longer the outsider judged in the town square. She was part of this world, this frontier, and this community. As the visitors left, Eli walked over to her. "You've done well," he said quietly. Not many people could face danger and work so calmly. You've earned your place, Lena. She looked up at him, her heart pounding. I couldn't have done it without you, she said. You guided me, you believed I could do it. Eli shrugged slightly, his expression calm. I just gave you the chance, you did the work. Lena felt a sudden courage rise inside her. She stepped closer. Eli, I want to stay, I want to be here with you. Not just as a worker, but as someone who belongs here. Eli looked at her steadily, his eyes softening. For a moment, neither spoke. The plains stretched endlessly behind them, bathed in the light of the setting suns. Finally, he nodded. Then stay, you belong here, Lena. I want you to. A rush of happiness filled her chest. She smiled, and for the first time, she felt completely at peace. The harshness of the frontier, the dangers, the past humiliation, all of it seemed small compared to this moment. She had found trust, respect, and love in the most unexpected place. The evening brought calm. Lena and Eli worked together to settle the herd, ensuring all cattle were safely in the corral. The robotic helpers hummed quietly, assisting them as needed. Lena's hands were tired, but her heart was light. She realized that work, even hard and exhausting work, could be fulfilling when shared with someone who respected and trusted you. When the herd was finally secure, Eli suggested they walk to the edge of the plains. Lena followed, her boots leaving soft prints in the red dust. They reached a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley below. The twin moons had risen, casting a soft glow over the plains. Stars twinkled brightly in the dark sky, brighter than Lena had ever seen. It's beautiful, Lena said softly, gazing at the view. Eli nodded. It's honest. It shows the world as it is, harsh, wide, and full of life. You've learned to handle it well. Lena turned to him, her eyes bright. I've learned a lot. About the land, the cattle, the ranch, and about myself. I feel stronger than I ever have. Eli's expression softened. You are stronger. You faced danger, worked hard, and shown courage. Not everyone can do that. They stood in silence for a moment, letting the wind brush past them. Lena felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of belonging that went beyond the ranch, beyond the plains, beyond even Eli. She was part of this world now. She had found a home. Eli spoke quietly. Lena, I've seen many come and go. Few have the heart you have. I'm glad you stayed, glad you found your place here. Her heart fluttered. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the journey she had made, the long travel across stars, the humiliation in town, the fear and uncertainty. And now all of it seemed worth it. I'm glad too, she said softly. I care about this place, about you, about the herd. I want to help build this life together. Eli looked at her, a rare smile tugging at his lips. Then we'll do it together. The plains were quiet now, the distant hum of the hovering cattle and drones the only sound. Lena felt a peace she had never known. The town had rejected her, the matchmaker had insulted her, and yet here she was, valued, respected, and trusted. She had proven herself not by words, but by actions. As night deepened, they walked back toward the ranch house, side by side. The stars above seemed endless, and the moons cast silver light over the red landscape. Lena realized that she had found something she had longed for all her life. A place to belong, people to trust, and a quiet love that grew stronger with each shared task. Eli opened the door to the ranch house and gestured for her to enter first. Lena stepped inside, feeling a warmth that went beyond the building itself. It was a feeling of home, safety, and acceptance. That night, Lena lay on her cot, thinking about the journey that had brought her here. The rejection in town, the long travel across space, the fear of failure, all of it had led to this. She had faced challenges, learned new skills, and discovered courage she did not know she possessed. And she had found trust and affection in the quiet rancher who had believed in her. As she closed her eyes, she felt a small hand of hope in her heart. She was no longer the woman judged for being not good enough. She was Lena, a brave, strong woman of the frontier. She had a place, a purpose, and a love she had never expected to find. The twin moons shone softly outside the window, the stars sparkled over the plains. And Lena slept peacefully, knowing that the frontier, though harsh and wild, was now a place she could call home. Tomorrow would bring work, challenges, and growth, but tonight she allowed herself a quiet joy. She had faced rejection, danger, and doubt, and she had emerged stronger, braver, and loved. And for the first time, she felt that she truly belonged.